Don't move, Denise. You've done enough.
I spent 12 years in military intelligence before starting my cybersecurity firm. I thought those days of hunting threats and reading patterns were behind me. I was wrong. That Tuesday in September started like any other morning. I dropped my 7-year-old daughter Lily at Ridgemont Elementary, while my wife, Rachel, was in San Francisco for a week-long marketing conference. Lily asked about ice cream after school. I said maybe if she finished her homework, and I headed to my office thinking it would be just another routine day. My business partner Marcus and I spent the morning handling a coordinated cyber attack on one of our clients. It was the kind of work I loved, the chess match of staying 3 moves ahead of hackers. Marcus and I had served together in Middle East with the 525th Military Intelligence Brigade. He'd saved my life during an ambush in Kandahar, and I'd returned the favor by bringing him into the business when we both left the service. We worked well together because we both understood that some men are wired to fight and protect, and civilian life doesn't change that fundamental nature. At 2:30 that afternoon, I left early to pick up Lily from school. I like being reliable, being the dad other kids could set their watches by. I was sitting in the parking lot answering emails when my phone rang at exactly 2:47. Eleanor Chen, Lily's teacher. My instincts immediately told me something was wrong. Teachers don't call during school hours unless there's a problem. "Mr. Thompson, I need you to come to the school right now," she said, her voice carrying an edge that made my blood run cold. "We need to discuss something concerning about the woman who's been picking up your daughter." I was out of my car and through the entrance in 30 seconds flat. Mrs. Chen and Principal Derek Hoffman were waiting in a conference room, looking grave. They showed me sign-out sheets from the past 5 days. Every single day since Monday, someone had been signing Lily out at 2 in the afternoon and bringing her back at 2:45, just before regular dismissal. The signature looked exactly like Rachel's handwriting, perfectly mimicked. "That's impossible," I said, forcing my voice to stay calm despite the adrenaline flooding my system. "Rachel's been in San Francisco since Sunday. She hasn't been anywhere near this school." Principal Hoffman pulled up the security footage. The woman appeared each day at 1:55, wearing different outfits. Monday, a blue dress, Tuesday, jeans and a blazer, Wednesday, a pantsuit. She kept her face angled away from the main cameras, but not obviously so. She knew exactly where the cameras were positioned. Her height and build matched Rachel's. She wore a hat and sunglasses every time. She moved with confidence, signed the sheets without hesitation, and walked out holding Lily's hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Where did she take my daughter?" I asked, my mind already cataloging details, forming threat assessments. "Emma said they went for ice cream," Mrs. Chen said quietly. "The woman told her it was a special surprise that you and her mother had arranged." Ice cream, the exact thing Lily had asked me about that morning. This wasn't random. This was planned, calculated. Someone who'd been watching us closely enough to know our routines and conversations. I asked to speak with Lily privately. When they brought her to the conference room, her face lit up seeing me, then fell when she registered my expression. "Am I in trouble, Daddy?" I knelt down to her level, keeping my voice gentle despite the rage building in my chest. "No, sweetheart, you're not in trouble. But I need you to tell me about the lady who's been picking you up this week." Lily's eyes widened. "But you and Mommy said it was okay. She said it was a surprise." "What did this lady look like, Lily? Can you describe her?" "She looked like Mommy," Lily said simply. "She had Mommy's hair and Mommy's smile. She even smelled like Mommy's perfume. She was really nice and bought me strawberry ice cream with rainbow sprinkles. She said she was Aunt Denise." The name hit me like a physical blow. Denise Sullivan, Rachel's older sister. The sister Rachel hadn't spoken to in 7 years. The sister who'd been in and out of psychiatric facilities for the past decade, who'd threatened Rachel at our wedding, who'd sent disturbing letters until Rachel got a restraining order. The sister I'd hoped was permanently out of our lives. I called Rachel from the parking lot. She was in a meeting but stepped out immediately when she saw my repeated calls. "Jason, what's wrong?" "Denise has been picking up Lily from school for the past week," I said flatly. "Taking her for ice cream, buying her trust, God knows what else." The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Then, Rachel's voice came back shaking. "That's not possible. She doesn't even know where we live now. We moved after the last incident specifically so she couldn't find us. She found us. She's been taking Lily for 45 minutes every afternoon while you've been gone. This wasn't random, Rachel. This was planned." I heard Rachel's breath catch. that sharp intake that meant she was fighting panic. "I'm booking the next flight home." "No," I said firmly. "Don't change your schedule. That's exactly what she wants, to disrupt our lives and prove she still has power over us. You stay there and finish your conference. I've got this handled." "Jason, this is Denise. You don't know what she's capable of." "I know exactly what she's capable of. That's why I'm handling it now, the right way." That night, I pulled everything I could find on Denise Sullivan. I'd compiled a file on her years ago when Rachel first told me about her sister's escalating behavior. Denise was 42, 3 years older than Rachel. They'd grown up in Chicago, had a normal childhood until their mother died of cancer when Denise was 15 and Rachel 12. Their father remarried quickly to a woman named Patricia Hayes, who had little interest in her new stepdaughters. Rachel coped by throwing herself into academics and earned a full scholarship to Northwestern. Denise went the opposite direction with pills, petty crime, and toxic relationships. When Rachel started succeeding with a good job, serious boyfriend, and real future, Denise's resentment crystallized into something darker. The breaking point came at our engagement party when Denise showed up drunk, screaming that Rachel had stolen everything from her, that Rachel had always been the favorite, that their mother would have loved her more if she'd lived. She threw a glass at Rachel, narrowly missing her head. I physically removed Denise from the venue. She screamed threats all the way to her car about making sure Rachel lost everything. The restraining order followed, then rambling letters about fairness and justice and how Rachel owed her. Denise was institutionalized twice for psychiatric evaluation. The letters stopped 3 years ago, and we foolishly assumed she'd moved on. We let the restraining order expire 2 years ago. Stupid, complacent. Exactly the kind of mistake that gets people hurt. I found that Denise had a daughter, 9-year-old Maya Sullivan, born 11 years ago at a charity hospital in Chicago with the father listed as unknown. Denise had lost custody of Maya 3 times due to neglect and instability, but the broken child welfare system kept giving her back. Her last custody hearing was 2 years ago, when she'd convinced a judge she was stable, employed, and taking her medication. Clearly, that stability hadn't lasted. I started tracking her movements. She'd moved out of her Milwaukee apartment 4 months ago, right around when she'd started planning this. She'd bought a used Honda 2 months ago, registered to a P.O. box in a nearby town. Credit card records showed purchases just 15 miles from Ridgemont 3 weeks ago. She was living nearby, watching us, learning our patterns. I found she was making regular ATM withdrawals every 3 days like clockwork, always at 6:45 in the evening, always at the same Walgreens on Miller Street. The next withdrawal would be that night. I positioned myself across from the Walgreens at 6:30, wearing a baseball cap and glasses, my car positioned for clear sightlines while remaining inconspicuous. At 6:43, a Honda Civic pulled into the lot. Denise stepped out and I felt my breath catch. She looked different from the last time I'd seen her, thinner, hair shorter and dyed darker, but the way she moved was unmistakable. Quick, nervous, constantly checking her surroundings. I followed her at a distance, using other vehicles for cover, staying back far enough to avoid detection. My military training made surveillance second nature. She drove to a rundown extended-stay motel called the Riverside Inn on the outskirts of town, the kind of place that rents by the week and doesn't ask questions. She parked in front of room 117, unlocked the door, and disappeared inside. I sat in my car for another hour, photographing everything. Then I saw something that made my blood run cold. A small figure appeared in the window, a child with dark hair, Maya. Denise wasn't alone, and she had her daughter living in that motel room. The next morning, I returned at 7 with a telephoto lens camera. Surveillance work requires patience, and I had plenty from years of observation posts in Middle East. At 8:30, Maya appeared eating cereal at a small table visible through the window. Denise moved around the room, getting dressed, checking her phone repeatedly, pacing like she was agitated about something. At 9:15, Denise left alone in her Honda. I waited 5 minutes, then approached room 117. I knocked softly. Maintenance. Need to check the AC unit. The door opened slightly, chain still engaged. Maya peered out cautiously. Mom's not here. I gave her my friendliest smile, the one that worked on Lily. That's okay. I just need to look at your AC. Been getting complaints about the system. How about you watch me from the door? I'll leave it open so you can see everything I'm doing. Maya considered this, then nodded. Okay, but I'm watching. I made a show of examining the AC unit while scanning the room. 2 beds, one for Denise, one for Maya. Clothes scattered everywhere, fast food wrappers. And on the dresser, Dozens of photos. My heart seized. They were all photos of Lily. Some recent, taken from a distance at school or the park. Others older, printed from social media or God knows where. "Your mom takes a lot of pictures, huh?" I said casually. "She likes that little girl," Maya said. "Says she's going to be my sister soon. Says we're going to be a family, just like we should have been." My blood turned to ice. Denise had a daughter she'd kept secret from everyone, and she believed Lily was going to become part of her family. This wasn't just maltreatment or obsession. This was full delusional thinking. Beverly had constructed an entire fantasy where she got to play happy family with Lily as her daughter. I immediately called Detective Henry Ortega, who I'd worked with on a previous case. "I need a welfare check on a child. Denise Sullivan, room 117 at the Riverside Inn. She has a daughter with her, approximately 9 years old. I don't know if the child's in immediate danger, but Denise is mentally unstable and clearly delusional about my daughter." "I'll send a patrol car," Ortega said. "But Jason, you can't be doing surveillance on her. If this goes to court, we need everything clean." "There won't be a court," I said flatly. "She's planning something bigger. I need to know what before it happens." That evening, Detective Ortega called back. We did the welfare check. Denise wasn't there, but the girl was fine. She had food, seemed healthy, knew her name and her mother's name. No signs of misuse or neglect that would justify removing her. Kid clammed up when we asked about her mother. "She's been coached." I spent the evening reinforcing security at our house and Lily's school, arranging for private security guards to monitor the entrances, updating Principal Hoffman on the threat level. Then I received a text from an unknown number. "She's beautiful. You've done such a good job raising her, but she needs a mother's love, real love, not Rachel's fake, selfish love. I can give her what she needs, what you both need." I texted back immediately. "Denise, we need to talk." The response came within seconds. "Finally, I've been waiting for you to understand. Meet me tomorrow, 2 p.m., Riverside Park. Come alone. No police or you'll never see Lily again." I called Marcus immediately. "I need you at Lily's school tomorrow. Stay in the parking lot. Watch everything. If Denise comes anywhere near that building, you call me and the police instantly." "You're walking into a trap," Marcus said. "You know that, right?" "Of course it's a trap, but it's also the only way to end this." "She wants to talk? Fine, we'll talk. And I'll make very clear what happens if she ever comes near my daughter again." Friday afternoon, I arrived at Riverside Park an hour early to scout the location. It was a sprawling space with a playground, walking trails, and a small pond. At 2 p.m. on a Friday, it would be moderately busy. Enough witnesses to prevent anything too dramatic, but enough space for private conversation. I identified sightlines, exit routes, potential ambush points. Old habits died hard. At 1:55, Denise appeared. She walked slowly, nervously, scanning the park. When she spotted me, her face transformed with a smile that was equal parts hopeful and unhinged. "Jason," she said, approaching carefully. "Thank you for meeting me." "Cut the pleasantries, Denise. Why are you doing this?" She sat on the bench beside me, too close. I shifted away. "I'm trying to fix things, to make things right. Rachel has everything, the perfect husband, perfect career, perfect child. But she doesn't appreciate it. She doesn't deserve it." "And you think you do?" "I know I do." Denise's voice rose. "I had a daughter too. I know what it means to be a mother. Real motherhood, not Rachel's version where she dumps Lily with nannies and goes off chasing her career. Rachel's at a conference. That's called having a job." "It's called being selfish," Denise snapped, her mask slipping. "She always put herself first, even when we were kids. She was the smart one, the pretty one, the one everyone loved. I was just background noise." I kept my voice level, letting her talk, gathering information. "So this is about resentment? About what you think Rachel owes you? It's about fairness. Do you know what it's like to watch your sister have everything while you have nothing? To see her live the life that should have been yours? And Emma? Where does she fit into your delusion?" "Lily is perfect," Denise said, her eyes blazing. "She's kind and sweet, and she laughed at my jokes. She liked being with me. We connected. You manipulated a 7-year-old child. I showed her real love, the kind of love Rachel's too busy to give her." I stood, done with the conversation. "If you truly love Lily, you'd stay away from her. You'd recognize that what you're doing is terrifying her and her parents." Denise stood abruptly. "You don't get it. You're on Rachel's side, just like everyone else. I'm on my daughter's side, and you're scaring her." "I would never hurt her," Denise said, but her voice had taken on a chilling edge. "But accidents happen. Children get lost sometimes. They disappear. I moved closer, my voice dropping to deadly calm. If anything happens to my daughter, anything at all, I will hold you responsible. And I promise you, Denise, I am very good at making problems disappear. Do you understand what I'm saying? For the first time, she seemed to recognize the danger standing in front of her. I wasn't just a concerned father. I was a man with training, skills, and resources. A man who'd spent years in situations where lives hung in the balance. "Are you threatening me?" she whispered. "I'm explaining consequences. Stay away from my family. Get the help you need and we'll never see each other again. Keep pushing, and you'll discover exactly what I'm capable of." Denise backed away, her bravado crumbling. "You think you're so smart, but I know things about Rachel, things that could destroy her perfect little life." "I don't care what you think you know. What if I told you she's not who you think she is? That your perfect wife has secrets?" I felt a chill but kept my expression neutral. "Goodbye, Denise." I walked away and sent the recording of our conversation to Detective Ortega. But Denise's words bothered me. That night, I did something I'd never felt the need to do before. I started digging into Rachel's past. The first discrepancy was small. Rachel had told me she graduated from Northwestern with a degree in marketing. Her LinkedIn confirmed it. But when I accessed the university's alumni database through a contact, I found something odd. Rachel Campbell had attended Northwestern but left in her junior year. No degree awarded. Just gone. I found mentions of a scandal in the student newspaper archives involving a professor and several students. The details were vague, hushed up quickly, but one name appeared: Rachel Campbell, who'd filed a complaint before withdrawing. The professor, Dr. Marcus Wheeler, had been quietly dismissed. There were hints of settlements, NDAs, lawsuits suppressed before they could become public. Rachel had never mentioned any of this. After leaving Northwestern, she'd moved to Los Angeles for 2 years. The startup she claimed to have worked for had no record of her employment. I checked tax records, business registrations, everything. Either Rachel had worked under a different name or she'd never worked there at all. I called a private investigator I knew in Los Angeles. "I need everything you can find on Rachel Campbell, now Rachel Thompson, who lived in LA from 2010 to 2012. The report came back that evening and made my stomach turn. Rachel had worked under a different name, Rachel Sullivan, at a high-end escort service called Platinum Connections for about 18 months. The business was technically legal, calling itself a companionship service, but everyone knew what it really was. She'd used Denise's last name during that time. She'd left LA suddenly in 2012, moved to Chicago, reinvented herself completely. She got her degree from DePaul University, which actually had her in their records, and started her legitimate marketing career. She'd essentially created a whole new identity, carefully burying her past. Someone digging specifically would find the connections. Someone like Denise. When Rachel's flight landed that night at 11:47, she looked exhausted. She set down her suitcase and said quietly, Hi, we need to talk." "About what?" "I know about Northwestern," I said, my voice harder than I intended. "I know about Marcus Wheeler. I know about Los Angeles and Platinum Connections. I know everything." Rachel's face went white. She grabbed the back of the couch for support. "How does that matter?" "You lied to me, Rachel. For our entire relationship, you lied." She sank onto the couch, tears streaming down her face. "Marcus Wheeler was my professor. We did have a relationship, and yes, it was consensual at first, but it became controlling and abusive. He threatened to fail me if I ended it. When I finally reported him, the university gave me 2 choices: pursue a formal complaint that would drag on for years and ruin my reputation, or take a settlement and go quietly. I took the settlement because I was 20 years old and terrified." I sat across from her listening. I moved to LA with that money, planning to start over, but I was depressed, angry, lost. I fell into bad choices. I worked for Platinum Connections for a year and a half. It was supposed to be temporary, just until I got on my feet, but it became easier to keep doing it than to figure out what I really wanted. When I finally left that life, I went back to school, got my degree, built a real career. I became the person I wanted to be. "And you never thought to tell me?" My voice rose. "How do I tell the man I love that I used to be an escort? That I lied about my education? That I'm not the person he thinks I am?" "By trusting me," I stood, my anger finally breaking through. "By believing that I loved you enough to handle the truth. Instead, you built our entire relationship on lies. They weren't lies. They were omissions, selective truths. That's the same damn thing, Rachel. I was protecting us, protecting Lily. If that past came out, it could ruin everything I've built. And now Denise has that information. She's using it against us. How does she know? Rachel's eyes widened. Patricia, my stepmother. She knew about Northwestern, about the settlement. If Denise reconnected with her, Patricia would have told her everything out of spite. I showed her the text Denise had sent. Tick-tock. Truth comes out tomorrow. Hope you're ready for everyone to know who Rachel really is. Rachel's face hardened. She's going to expose me. Destroy everything. Let her try, I said. But we do this my way now. No more secrets, no more playing defense. We take the fight to Denise. By the following morning, the weight of everything that had happened pressed so heavily on my chest that I could barely breathe. The city was still wrapped in dawn fog, streets quiet, the kind of gray light that makes everything feel uncertain. I sat in my car for a long time, staring at the burner phone in my hand. There was no more room for hesitation. At 7:14 a.m., I typed the message that would begin the end of all this. You win. Let's meet and discuss terms. I'll pay you to stay away and to keep Rachel's secrets buried. Name your price. The reply came almost immediately, as if she had been waiting all night, her finger hovering over the send button. 500,000 cash, and I get to see Lily one last time to say goodbye. I stared at the screen, my pulse steady but cold. She wasn't just after money. She wanted control. No to Lily, I texted back. 250,000 and you disappear permanently. Her next message came within seconds. 400,000, final offer. Sunday, 3 p.m., Warehouse District, Polk Street. Come alone. There it was, the setup, the trap she thought I'd walk blindly into. Denise was following the script almost too perfectly. That Sunday morning, the air carried the brittle edge of autumn. I made sure Rachel and Lily were out of reach before anything began. Marcus drove them to his family's secluded cabin 2 hours north. Dense woods, no cell service, a place that swallowed sound. His wife stayed behind with them for safety, armed and steady. Only when they were gone did I let myself exhale. Marcus and I drove to the city's forgotten quarter, the Warehouse District, a place where broken glass glittered like ice on the cracked asphalt. The building Denise had chosen was an old industrial complex, windows shattered, its steel doors rusted to the frame, a perfect place for something to go terribly wrong. Marcus took the roof of a neighboring building with a long-range camera, a police scanner, and a rifle. Our insurance policy. I walked in alone at exactly 3 o'clock, the sound of my footsteps echoing off metal beams. I carried a duffel bag filled mostly with cut paper, a few stacks of real cash placed strategically on top. Right on time, came a voice from the darkness. Denise stepped out of the shadows wearing a smirk that didn't reach her eyes. She looked thinner, harsher, her hair pulled back too tight. And she wasn't alone. Patricia Hayes, Rachel's stepmother, was beside her, face pale and drawn. 3 large men flanked them, the kind of men who'd do anything if you handed them an envelope full of cash. You said, "Come alone," I said, voice low but steady. And you believed I would? Denise laughed, sharp and brittle. Where's the money? I dropped the bag onto the floor. 400,000, take it and vanish, that's the deal. One of the men crouched, unzipped the duffel, rifled through the top bills, then gave a short nod to Denise. But Denise wasn't finished, not even close. Her expression hardened, and her voice turned cold. Before we're done here, I want you to understand something. Rachel destroyed my life. She took everything, my opportunities, my reputation, even my family. You think this is about cash? It's not. It's about justice. Tomorrow morning, every person she's ever worked with will know exactly who she really is. I've got emails drafted to her employer, to every journalist in the city with proof, photos, settlement documents, everything from Northwestern to her days in LA. Her perfect life will burn to ash. The money is just the price of my pain. I watched her, the light catching the madness in her eyes. I'd expected this. Denise wasn't rational enough to take the money and run. She wanted to drag Rachel through the fire with her. You know what I think? I said finally, stepping closer. You're a hollow, bitter woman who's made a hobby out of blaming others for what she did to herself. Rachel didn't ruin you. You did that all on your own. For a heartbeat, silence. Then Denise's face twisted with fury. Get him! The men lunged. Instinct took over. The first man caught the duffel bag full force across his face. He dropped instantly. The second went down after a sharp elbow to the throat. The third grabbed at my jacket. I used his momentum to send him crashing into a stack of rusted barrels that exploded with noise. Years of training made it easy, automatic, efficient. Denise screamed, yanking a revolver from her coat pocket, the metal glinting under the dim light. "Don't move!" Then a red laser dot appeared on her chest. "Marcus, watching, ready. You're surrounded," I said calmly. "Put the tool down, Denise. The police are already on their way." Patricia began backing toward the exit, trembling. "Denise, I'm out. This wasn't supposed to go this far." "Don't you dare leave me," Denise shouted, her voice cracking as she turned the tool toward her. "You promised to help me make Rachel pay." "I wanted money, not homicide," Patricia yelled before bolting through the door. That split second of distraction was all I needed. I moved forward, twisted Denise's wrist, and the tool hit the concrete with a metallic clatter. In one motion, I forced her down onto her knees, her breath ragged, her face streaked with tears. "It's over," I told her. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Within minutes, Detective Ortega and 2 officers burst through the side door, weapons raised. "Jason, you good?" Ortega called. "Fine," I said, standing over Denise. "She's under arrest for attempted robbery, attack with a deadly weapon, and conspiracy. The others are with her. Patricia Hayes ran north on foot about 3 minutes ago." They cuffed Denise, reading her rights. As she was led past me, she stopped just long enough to whisper, her voice barely audible. "Tell Rachel I'm sorry for everything." The weeks after felt surreal, quiet but heavy, like the air after a storm. Denise accepted a plea bargain, 10 years in state prison with mandatory psychiatric care. Patricia received 5 years for aiding and abetting. And just like that, the chaos they'd created rippled outward, leaving one innocent in the wreckage, Maya, Denise's 9-year-old daughter. Rachel sat at the kitchen table one night, tears welling as she looked at the adoption papers. "She's my niece," she whispered. "She's just a child. If we don't step up, she'll vanish into foster care. I can't let that happen." We started the process. It was long, invasive, exhausting. Home visits, background checks, psychological evaluations. But the hardest part wasn't the paperwork. It was helping Maya believe she was safe again. She carried years of fear behind her eyes, the kind that doesn't fade easily. For months, she tested every boundary, certain we'd abandon her too. But slowly, day by day, through patience and therapy, she began to trust. Rachel, too, made a choice to stop hiding. During Patricia's trial, she stood before the court and revealed everything Denise had tried to weaponize. The truth about the abusive professor, the confidential settlement, her time in Los Angeles. Every shadow from her past laid bare. Her voice didn't tremble. "I'm not ashamed of who I was," she said. "That woman fought like hell to become who I am today, and I'm proud of her." The reaction was astonishing. The media didn't crucify her. They celebrated her courage. Her company rallied behind her. Young women reached out, saying her story gave them hope. Denise's weapon had turned into Rachel's armor. 6 months later, Maya was laughing again. She and Lily shared a bedroom, bickering and bonding like true sisters. When the adoption hearing came, Maya stood before the judge, head held high, and said, "Yes, Your Honor, I want to stay with them. They're my family." That night, when I tucked the girls into bed, Maya whispered, "Can I call you Mom and Dad now, or should I wait?" Rachel's voice broke softly. "You can call us whatever feels right, sweetheart." "Okay," Maya said, smiling faintly. "I'll think about it." Later that night, as I checked on them, Maya's voice floated from the dark. "Good night, Dad." I froze, then smiled. "Good night, Maya." "Good night, Lily." "Good night, Daddy," Lily murmured sleepily. In the hallway, Rachel met my eyes, tears glimmering. "She called you Dad?" "Yeah," I said, barely keeping my voice steady. "She did." We stood there for a moment, holding each other. We'd been tested in every way that mattered, by Denise's hatred, by Rachel's past, by our own fear, and somehow we'd come through it all stronger. Years passed. Denise was paroled after 8 years. She lived quietly in another state, under supervision, attending therapy and holding down a steady job. Maya agreed to monthly supervised video calls. The conversations were polite, tentative, and restrained. Denise never pushed for more than Maya was willing to give. Now Lily is 13, Maya 15. They're inseparable, dreaming, arguing, laughing. Rachel's career flourished after she embraced her truth, and my company grew beyond anything I could have imagined. One evening, as we were clearing the dinner table, Lily looked up and asked, "Dad, do you think it's okay if I write to Denise? I just want to thank her. If none of that had happened, I wouldn't have Maya as my sister. And in that moment, I realized we had truly won, not by defeating anyone, but by choosing compassion over hatred, honesty over fear, and love over revenge. Denise tried to destroy us with secrets and lies, but instead she gave us something we never knew we needed. A family forged not by blood, but by choice, courage, and forgiveness. We survived. We healed. And in the ashes of everything she tried to ruin, we built something beautiful. That's the only victory that ever mattered.